Welcome to another episode of The Path, my journey to become a TechnoWizard. I guess this is episode 10. Because yesterday wasn't really a real episode, but I didn't really want to do episode yesterday, but I did it because I didn't want to miss a day. So, it is what it is. I just called it an interlude. And today I've been like hitting my head against the wall. Um, in terms of not even like the difficulty per se. I mean, what I was doing is essentially creating competitive analysis and some exploratory research. It's not necessarily hard. Um, it's just I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really the work or just again what I said before, like my energy levels, my ability to kind of focus right now in these times, whatever. And I don't know. It's very frustrating. So what I'm going to do instead is try to get myself excited again. All right. So I do like to talk about design thinking problems from a more ambitious standpoint, from a large standpoint, from a you know whatever. But I can't even. Sheesh, sorry y'all. But I'm gonna talk about Flubbi. All right, that's one of my babies, my ideas that I really enjoyed thinking about and ideating and writing about. For the last couple like years, it's pretty much a direct descendant of my childhood obsession with hovercars. So I'm not. Did I ever? I don't think I ever went into the details, but back in the day, like ever since what third grade, I think it was. I was like obsessed with inventing hovercars. So it started with some morning assignment, journal assignment, whatever. It was like write something about how you would get to school in the morning, and I wrote like I was inspired by the Magic School Bus, and I drew a little I drew a little floating bus, and I was like, oh, how cool it would be to come to school in a hover car, in a flying bus. And I don't know why, but I got an F on that assignment. Got an F on that. That was like the most fun I had, making one of those journals for school, and I got an F on that junk, man. I don't really remember how I felt about then. All I know is that ever since then, I've been like super like I really thought I was going to be the one to invent hover cars. Like seriously. Um, so I would really study like how would hover cars work. How would you make things float? All this stuff. I went big into magnetics, electromagnetics. So throughout like most of my elementary school years, I would be in the library just looking up like fiction books. I mean, nonfiction books because I never read nonfiction, and I still rarely do. Um, but the only times I really read nonfiction books, because I love my Harry Potter, I love I think my first books was like Hank the Cowdog. I love all that stuff, but I don't know, something really came over me, and I used to read like electromagnetics, how what do you call it, maglev trains work, all that stuff. I went hard into there, and then in high school, I freaking found a book um, called General and Special Relativity by Albert Einstein, man. I looked up Albert Einstein. I used to, again, I was big into the science stuff. And I think it was fifth grade. Yeah, it was in fifth grade. I did an entire like 9-page essay on Albert Einstein because he was like, inventing that stuff. Like I wasn't sure what technology you would use to make things float, but I knew had maybe something to do with space, something to do with magnets and stuff like that. And a lot of that research at the time pointed to Albert Einstein. He was like my favorite inventor. Unfortunately, I did not do good on that research paper because I apparently plagiarized a lot of it. Not intentionally, not like I sat there and tried to copy things, but the way I cited my sources was like I guess wrong. Like instead of paraphrasing something, like when I was researching about his story or whatever, instead of paraphrasing, I would just like copy over the whole thing and put it in there. because I was like, what's the point in like writing up something that's already written? So I got in trouble for that. But my teacher's real cool. She just told me, that's plagiarizing. Don't do that. Um, but that's probably why it was so long, because like half the pages were just copy pasted like of his biography or whatever. But the point is, I was big into all that stuff. And when I started reading general and special relativity in high school, that junk, it blew my mind. And from there, I really went down the rabbit hole of science. Like I went deep into how relativity worked. I went deep into space time and what that meant. I went deep into, from there I went into quantum mechanics. Oh my gosh, I love quantum mechanics. Um, Quantum physics, all of that stuff. I went really deep into that. Like I could tell you a little bit about like M brains and brain theory and string theory, uh, freaking quantum field theory, all that stuff. Like I was really seriously into that. But I was never super talented with it because my math skills were not great. Well, I was really good at math in high school, and I was like always at the top of my class. I even beat like I valedictorian, all that them in math several times. But for me, the easiest part of math was like geometry and trigonometry, stuff like that. But I never could really like grok the equations. So anything above what do you call those? Not polynomials, but like a step above that, right before you get to precalculus, that kind of was a little bit above my level. And then calculus, I couldn't even get with it. So, most of string theory and all that other stuff is like advanced math, and I could just not understand it. I can barely understand quantum field theory and stuff like that, not because I understand like the equations, even though I looked up in what do you call it? What's his name? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't pulling a blank on his name, but he created the whole idea showing how quantum states collapse, and stuff like that. I don't know why I can't figure out the name right now. But anyways, I went into all that, and I understood it a little bit by my ability to visualize it. Like I've always been super good with visualizing things, and the reason why I thought I'll be the one to invent hovercars was because I can visualize. I could visualize how the entire system would work. You know, I would create like Lego kind of models and everything like that, and models in my head of how the systems work. I try to draw it, but I'm not too good at drawing. I I try to like create like mechanical proofs, or mathematical proofs to show why it would work. But again, I was not that good at math. I tried really hard. I studied freaking aerodynamics, mechanical engineering, all that stuff in high school, and I just could not get it. I just couldn't put put the things together in my head. Um, but what I was able to do was really visualize how the system would work. All right, and I was like, if only I could model this. If only I could like show, like make a prototype of this. I could prove what I was what my ideals were. But unfortunately, like my family's always, um, poor, to be honest with you. We didn't really have the resources for all that stuff to try to find, all these different things you would need to build something like that or build a prototype of it. And I'm not like one of those smart kids from like Africa who can go in a junkyard and put a bunch of things together and make a prototype. That was above my pay grade as well. As far as I was concerned, my only real skill was the ability to visualize ideas. That's it. When it came to the practical applications, whether it be math or um, actual mechanics, couldn't do anything, and that really bothered me, for a long time. That's probably one of the many reasons why I kind of spiraled into depression, and it was really difficult to 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 allow that, to like consume, to like digest the idea that I wouldn't be able to invent hovercars. Because like for 10 years, probably over 10 years, I was really invested in this stuff. Um, And it was like, man, why can't I do this? I try to go into 3D modeling, but couldn't afford it. It wouldn't run on my computer. Like the free ones would not run on my computers. We had super old computers that were 10 years old back then, like back in like 2008, 2010. They were 10, 15, 20 years old back then. um, like the most advanced computer we had was like at least what 10 years old, and my uncle, no, it was 15 years old, and my uncle um had improved it, had like updated it 5 years prior to when I started using it. So they were just not running the hardware. I meant the software that I needed to try to learn 3D modeling. So that was out the door as well. Um, and so I was like, man, why isn't there an easier way to model things, to take your imagination and put it in reality, in some sort of reality. Like, drawing is extremely limited, because if you don't have the drawing skills, it's almost impossible to like really draw like your ideas out there. The minute you put pen to paper, you're like, I can't even draw a circle. How am I going to draw blah 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 blah? You know, and I want to draw a hover car, and cars are extremely difficult to draw, just naturally, much less trying to draw an entire new concept. um, so that was like, blew my mind. And then, you know putting things online didn't really work, because again, the software is too hard, or too expensive, or um, too advanced. And so I had a lot of these difficulties. I was like, why isn't there an easier way to do this? you know um, Again, I made a model with Lego. So I was like, why can't we, okay, what if we had like Legos online? And I did a bunch of research. Closest thing I found was stuff like, Minecraft, which I couldn't play at the time because, again, didn't have the hardware. And we couldn't play games on my computer. My dad was like, no downloading games. So couldn't play games on my computer. So I couldn't get into Minecraft, couldn't get into, what else was there? I think there was like a Lego game that was browser based. It wasn't actually a game. It was like you can like basically build with Legos, it's actual Legos, but it was extremely limited too. I couldn't even build like the stuff I did in my room, on the computer. So that software is extremely limited. There's a lot of those limiting factors. A lot of the software was just not it. um, and then what else did I do? Play-Doh. So I really started playing with Play-Doh again to model my stuff. I created different models, Legos with Play-Doh and all that. I was like, man, if only I could do this digitally, then I can like animate it. Then I can kind of simulate it. I could show that my ideas work, but could never find the software. Um, so all that was kind of percolating in my mind after high school. And eventually, when I got into Year Up, which is a technical training school program, I started teaching myself code, because it was like, this is a good skill to have. I was like, okay, cool. Let me try to teach myself code. I only had one friend who did any sort of coding back in high school, and he was telling me a little bit about it, but I didn't really understand what he was talking about. I still probably don't, but well, kind of probably do, but well, I know that nowadays he was talking about back end coding, which is something I still don't enjoy. Yeah, when I started teaching myself code, I started learning front end coding, of course, HTML, CSS, barely even code, but it's code nonetheless. So I started learning that. I was like, oh, this may be it. That's when I really got into technology in terms of like modern, like software technology, startups and, Silicon Valley and all that stuff. And I was like, whoa. So you're telling me people make all this stuff with like coding and all that, right? Because if you haven't really thought about how your software gets made, you're not really thinking about the people who made it. Like Facebook. How many of you not just looked at Facebook? Well, Facebook is a bad example now because everybody knows Mark Zuckerberg, but like take, Zoom for instance, which I'm using now, or YouTube or whatever. How many of you thought about the people who made the software? How many of you thought about what they learned and how they did it? How long it took them and stuff like that. When I learned that kind of, thinking, I was like, oh snap, maybe I can be one of these people. I can make a digital software that was easier to use, because that's basically what Facebook was. It was a social media software that was easier to use than what was there before. Same thing for Google. It was a search engine that was far easier to use than almost any other search engine that came before it. And there were like dozens of search engines when Google got popular. But Google made it easy. All you got to do, it was just one thing, search. Just type in the search bar. At that time, they had "I'm feeling lucky" and all this, and another button. I forgot what the other button was, but it was super easy. So I was like, okay, what if I did this for my idea, where you can create a your imagination super easy. And by then, since I started teaching myself code, I was like, maybe I could teach myself, this back end coding, the C++, C sharp. They said you need that to learn, how the type of software I want to make runs, like Unity. I started learning about Unity. I started learning about Unreal, and other game development software or game engines. I started learning about all that stuff. I went really deep because, again, I knew all about magnetics and just arcane like technology. So I started really looking up how computers work from the bits and bytes. Like I would look into how does the substrate of the computer work, like you know what is data, and how does a hard drive work, how does it store the actual bits and bots, and how does it translate that into, I would look deep into that stuff. So that's where I thought I could understand like C++ maybe, but none of that flew. Like it kept flying over my head. I try to, I got, these books. I looked online. There was books on how to learn, C++ the hard way or the right way or blah, blah, blah. And I looked up these things and just couldn't grok it. So yeah, I kept doing all this stuff because I wanted to make something simple, right? And unfortunately, making something simple is the hardest thing. And man, it's been such a journey just throughout that whole process. But eventually, I finally came across an idea of Flubbi, which comes from Flubber, the Robert De Niro movie, which comes from, I think, the um, the oldest, like two older movies that one was a remake of. But anyways, Flubber, that was like one of my favorite movies as a kid, and that was like the idea. It's like something like a magical little, a delightful little blob of that can turn into pretty much anything, that can do whatever you want it without you actually having to think about, the mechanical, technical aspects of it. You can just pretty much tell it what you want to do, and it will do it for you. And that's basically sort of what I wanted to create online, virtually, for anybody to have access to, because I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that the average person has no way, and I consider myself the average person. I mean, maybe not in some aspects because I'm a super nerd, but in many aspects, I'm not super talented. I'm not super smart. I just get obsessed about things and just look stuff up. But so if somebody like me could not figure out how to take my imagination and put it, in like a virtual or realistic space, why don't we have things that can help people like me? You know, on online there is only like there's two levels of things. There's the extremely like basic level of something like Paint. So anybody can use Paint. It's super easy to start using, but it's extremely difficult to like do something that's really good in Paint and Microsoft Paint. And then on the opposite level, there's game engines. There's 3D modeling. There's Maya. There's Autodesk, Blender. Stuff like that, where it's extremely difficult to get started. But once you do, you can really create some cool stuff. But there's a huge gap in that middle. There's no Play-Doh online. There's no Legos online. There's no thing that makes it easy for an average person to just be like, okay, I have an idea. Let me see if I can visualize it real quick, without spending a whole bunch of money, without having to need some expensive hardware, without having to need a whole bunch of like arcane knowledge. There is no way for somebody to just take their imagination and put it online, put it in a virtual space for them to see it, for them to manipulate it, for them to maybe even simulate it later on. So I was like, I want to create that thing. So long story. And that brings us to what we have here with well, really what we don't have here, because I have honestly been procrastinating. Now I wanted to wait, you know, for until I figure out how to make things online, like just a better way for me to like just have no skills. I feel like so I try to teach myself more coding. I tried to do this and that. I showed you all a little bit of it in the first episode of Flubbi verse. Well, pretty much a lot of it. The proto holodeck, those 3D videos, 3D or not 3D videos, 3D spaces, basically virtual reality but online without the headset. Where you can go into a virtual world through your browser. So that's the kind of things that I want to create, right? And I wanted to make it so it's so easy to just pull and push and prod and whatever and kind of mold the thing that you were thinking about. So it would use like a lot of AI most likely to kind of guess what you're trying to do. It would use a lot of maybe machine learning and all these buzzwords. But the basis of it, I feel like, is still a design problem. The basics of it is how do you psychologically analyze people in terms of what they want to do, and then make the machine, make the interface intuitive, or kind of guess what they're going to do, kind of estimate where they're going to, or predict what they want to do, and do that for them. So what that means is I have a whole like suite of documents. Maybe I should show that. That would be a little bit easier. Let me pull that up actually. Um, Kind of change what this whole video was going to be about. I was going to just like start trying to, make it work, make a little prototype, but I don't know, something tells me I need to show what I want to create, like show my goals here. 'Cause I'm still not sure if folks are understanding where I'm coming from. Um, but yeah, shout out to Kyle. I'm not sure if he's watching this, probably not, but maybe. I was talking to him the other day. He was like, "Man, you need to just start making it. Start making it." And I feel confident now of having the skills to at least start prototyping it, to start making an example of what it should look like, what it should do with these, UX skills. So I'm definitely happy to do that. But here we go. I'm gonna share this new screen. All right. So this is what I created like what was it, 2017? Maybe even 2016. And this is before of course I learned any design. Um, And what I want, this is basically how I imagined kind of starting from scratch because I had no knowledge of how anything worked. So I want to do something super simple, right? So the first version of it would just be like creating a stick. All right, start super simple from first principles. Before I got to any of the machine learning, non-rigid body stuff, super simple. So here's the first version where you can like, just create a stick and then you drag that stick over to and make shapes with it. You can't even in this version you can't even like fix the length and the height and stuff like that because I wasn't sure if that would be more complicated, which it probably is. But first version, I was like, okay. So the second version will be then you can adjust the parameters of these lines, these sticks. So you can enter in, how long you want it to be, how wide, the color, vector position, all that stuff would just be like, um, you can like rotate it and all that stuff. All right. And even you can even put formulas. So, I mean, granted, this is like more like a third, fourth version, but like formulas and vectors will allow you to animate it. So if this stick is here, maybe a vector will allow it to move down, you know. Um, Maybe a formula you have will allow it to like animate in a bounce type of thing. So there's that version. And then after that, you have your shapes. So when I, learn a little bit more after that, can put a shape down so you can hit that button and it creates these different shapes, different polygons. You can drag those over and make elements. You can maybe even fuse them all together or group them all together. And essentially, what I I realize now what I'm doing here is making the exact same thing I'm kind of using now, which is Sketch, which is Figma. And it's crazy because back then I never stumbled across the idea of Sketch or Figma or anything like that. Um, but even so, Sketch and Figma is not what I had intended because those are still pretty complicated. I want it to be as simple as this. Like you press one button, right, and then you have your thing there. All you got to do is drag it to where you want. Maybe you can adjust, the shape. You can adjust the size and whatnot. So that way you're not messing with the whole, like with Figma, you're not messing with the whole, you know, suite of tools and all this other stuff. Because Figma, Sketch, they can get super complicated. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. And then, later on, these other versions, you would then have 3D things. You would have kind of abstract shapes. So you can take something and move the points around, So if you have a big shape like this, each one of these little divots, each one of these little curves would be almost like a different shape. So you can draw that shape out if you wanted to. And there'll be like different layers. So you can draw like the first one out to make it look 3D. So that, again, just kind of iterating on the same idea. So that's what I want to start creating now. And I want to start testing it. Then I want to put it out there and see where it goes. Because that's really like the best way to do it. I've been procrastinating so long because I've been kind of scared. I've been kind of insecure. I've been anxious um, of whether or not it will work and whether or not I had what it took to build it. So I need to get over that. It's been way too long to keep, procrastinating on that stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. So every night, after my work or whenever, or just at a specific time, I already have the time on my calendar. I just kind of been ignoring it, so I need to stop ignoring it. If you're watching this, um, shout out to me. Let me know. Be in the comments. Hey, make Flubby happen. Stop procrastinating. So tell me, please, because it's so easy to be like, nah, I'm good. Nah, it's not. There's no point. There's this, and especially nowadays, like there's a whole bunch of other software that wasn't out before. There's like Decentraland that's out, freaking Magic Leap, um, all these other tools that's out there. Even you can even count A-Frame VR, but those are all still like more complicated or more limited than what I had intended. So I still haven't seen, what I want to do, and I want to see it. It needs to exist. Every day it feels like I'm losing my opportunities. Yeah, the so many ideas I had that are just like dying because I'm not addressing them, because I'm not facing them. I'm not, making them a reality. I'm not even trying to really make it a reality. And I want to stop that. I want to stop giving up on myself, and I want to make things happen. So yeah, I feel like kind of I could probably stop this episode here, but I'm gonna go the extra step and just start making it. I don't want like iPhone. Let me put Android all day. It's so small. I just go with the Google Pixel. All right. So I want to start with the mobile interface here, a mobile frame. Because if you can make it good for mobile, it'd be just stupid easy to make it good for web, usually. So let's say if I was, using the same idea here, how would I create that? Well, I pretty much already created it, so not much of a guesstimate there. You got your button, and then make this rounded. Now, I haven't used Figma a whole lot, so I'm not super familiar with it. How do I make rounded edges? Corner radius. Oh, there we go. Nice. Pill shaped or rectangular shape. I think pill shaped pretty nice. So Flubbi is a nice soft kind of product. It's very friendly. So I think, yeah, pill shape makes sense. Boom, bam, create shape. Now, I'm most likely not going to stick with this, but got to start from somewhere. So yeah, if you press that button, you make a shape, you make a line. So I know I said I should have different versions, but I feel like this makes more sense if there's if it can tell you, if you press a button and then you automatically, or you choose, if you want to create a line or a shape. And it says create shape here. I think before I said create stick. Oh, important thing to note is, because I wanted this to be free and I wanted this to be accessible, I need to have a really good monetization, plan. So I didn't want to charge people just to use it, and I didn't want to use advertisements. I freaking hate advertisements. Um, so what I had, and the reason why I call this a stick, is because you can put skins on it, right? People freaking love aesthetics. Um, a lot of the best kind of features in a lot of products, and especially a lot of games, are aesthetics. Fortnite made a buttload of money, probably like billions. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they made billions of dollars, and it's a free to play game because they have an incredible cash shop. They have incredible aesthetics. So emoticons, these dances and all that stuff, skins, that became a huge, huge thing. It was always a big thing in gaming, like MMORPGs and stuff like that. But Fortnite really showed that it was truly, the stuff. So I was like, man, maybe you can customize these sticks, so you can have like an actual stick, like model, look like a wooden stick. You can have like a bone. You can have whatever else you can imagine. I have people just upload their own skins for these things, and they can sell it in a store or something like that. So somebody else can buy your skin, and you would get that money, and the platform Flubbi would get a percentage, small percentage of every transaction. So I was like, I think that would be a really profitable way of going about it. So yeah, that's why I call it a stick and all that, and that's why I want to include that from the get go, because I already know where I want to go with that. Now, again, this may change when I start testing stuff and whatnot. And initially, I was thinking about, instead of start creating it. This is why I was procrastinating. Really, is because I was like, I need to go around and talk to people. I need to interview people. Do some research, some more research. But honestly, I've been doing 10 years, 15, 20 years. Not, I'm only 25, so not 20, but like 10, going on 15 years of research. Um, of thinking about this problem. So I am my biggest customer. I am the person that wants to use this thing. So I need to start just making it happen, and then I'll test it. So yeah. Um so what I want to do here is create a stick, and I want to be able to create a shape. So how would you do that? So if you have a button, create shape. Um I don't want too many options, because too many options confuse people. So I'm thinking maybe you should put should have two buttons, one create stick, one create shape. But if I have two buttons, it's kind of redundant, I think. I'm thinking of something where maybe you put boxes underneath here, so you can put like the dimensions. But again, that doesn't seem like fun. I want this product to feel like a toy, to feel like a delight where you use it. So every interaction with it is like, oh, it's enjoyable. So I don't want to just be like, put in the numbers. So this seems very boring. Because originally what I would do, the original idea is to have like a blob type of character, blob type of thing, you know, but I'm not sure how to do that. I don't know if I could stretch this out. That's what I started doing up here. This right here. Copy this over. Just a little bit smaller. Oh. That center is not really looking right, but whatever. So yeah, I wanted to have like a blob type of thing so you can pull this out. I'm not exactly sure how to visualize that in this form because I can see in my head it's like a a 3D blob, a 3D piece of Play-Doh, and you just pluck it out. Now, if it was like, I know it's possible because I've seen, and I showed you that on my website. I've seen somebody made like a or non-rigid body kind of Play-Doh type of thing. You just pluck it around and blob it around. It's really cool. It's called the blob. It's really fun. Like I when I found it, I showed other people and I was like, oh man, this is fun. I could do this all day. People love this stuff. So I wanted to incorporate something like that, but I'm not really sure how to do that here. I don't know. For now, I keep it like this, and maybe I just make different screens, and each screen it has like a different movement. But I still think this is necessary because say you wanted to create a house, with this, how would you do that? So this is, let me try this. Let me copy this whole thing. Another idea I had, which is basically the same thing, is the interface, right? What does the interface look like? I don't want there to be a bunch of stuff all around the borders like Figma or Sketch. Figma does a really good way of kind of simplifying it as well. Like for those who don't, let me show y'all Sketch real quick. Maybe I'm distracting myself. No, y'all could just look up Sketch. So if you ever seen Photoshop, Blender, any of those software, they all basically look the same. Bunch of tools, widgets all around the screen. I don't want to do that. But you do need some type of interface because it's going to be very, even though it might be fun pulling and plotting this thing, even if I can do it, and even if it might be enjoyable to make like drag these around to make things, it's kind of annoying to have to build an entire thing when it's a template. You should have templates, and so that's what I want to kind of bring into this, an interface to allow you to use templates. So how would I do that? I had this idea of like a kind of a ring, right? So either where your thumb is or where your mouse is. Oh, why did I do that? Forgot the, so there we go. Gonna make it transparent. Oops. There we go. Border. There we go. So you have like a little ring here, and then now, honestly, I was imagining this on the computer where you have a mouse and it just follows your mouse. But I want to challenge myself and start with a mobile design. So if you did have a mobile design, you could probably put this like just off to the side, right? Oop. Let me move this for now. So it starts off to the side in a cool corner somewhere, and it will say you have like templates. Maybe skins and tools. All right. So you have those three there. Maybe you can signify these with icons or whatever, but words is more clear. More words are more clear. Might not be as elegant, but you can always make it kind of look a little bit more elegant. So now I'm asking myself, why do I even have this here circle here? Well, maybe, I mean, the original idea was that the circle will allow you to see, what you're doing. Like if you had a mouse, you just kind of move it around that circle. And it's like a radial menu. So if you select one, more will pop out. So I'm thinking if I should maintain that, because in my head I had a whole idea of like a map, a tree of all the different things, all the different tools you can use. And yeah, that's why making it something simple is super hard, because you still want to have a lot of things going on. Like Google is not just a search engine; it's an extremely complicated and advanced indexing and algorithmic based beast. So there's a lot of like stuff that goes into making Google simple, and that is like indexing everything. That's, seeing relationships between websites, how links, what links are where, how many times they appear on the other sites, how many times people go there. All this other stuff goes into making Google, work really well. And the interface is what's simple, right? The part that people see, the part that people use, the part that people interact with the product through. So the same thing will most likely be true with this, with Flubby, is that you would have like a whole bunch of different tools that you can use, maybe all the same tools that's available in Blender or Sketch or Photoshop, but they would be hidden away. So pros and cons, maybe it's not super readily accessible, um, but this is not meant to be created for the person who's using Blender. I'm not creating this for them. I'm creating this for the average person who just wants to create something, right? And so that's how I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about if someone like me or just a random person, you know, wants to create a 3D version of something they drew, or a 3D version of, what they were thinking about, like their dream home, or a rocket ship or something like that. How would they do that? And so this is what I was thinking of. So maybe, I kind of went off on the tangent there, didn't I? I was just wondering why I even have a circle in the first place. I could just take out the circle and just have, these three things here, or just have a menu, down below. But no, I think it makes sense because you want to have that presentation. There's different things you can do here. You know, I'm not sure what yet, but I don't know. Something's telling me you can use that. Sometimes you gotta, listen to your intuition, even if the logic is not there yet. Maybe the logic is there, but you just haven't reasoned yourself there yet. But your mind has connected the dots. So I'm gonna listen to that intuition, and let's say, so if you go to templates, right, what happens? I think something like this will happen. Oh, actually, here's the first version. Let me make this again. So yeah, maybe you go into select templates, and this thing goes here, and maybe you have an arc. You make an arc. I guess it's just a line. Maybe curve that line. They'll let me. Starts here, goes here, and yeah. Oh, there we go. And on a radius, drag that out. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, that's it. Think. A little bit square up here, but whatever. We'll go with that for now. So create a template, and now you have, that might be confusing too, because it looks like it's encapsulating that. Because different versions, I'm thinking a bunch of these things at once. Like maybe you can put these inside the circle once something outside of it is selected. Like if you select one, then the other two go inside. But I want it to be like easy to go back to where you were. I think the original idea when I was thinking about this is was having uh again like a tree, a diagram. So I would map out like all the possible tools that you can have and all the interactions they could possibly have, and then figure out the interface. So maybe I should do that first. But this episode is already long, so I'm just gonna finish this, and then another episode I come back and do that. So uh, so for now, let's just stick with this, even though it's not gonna say like this at all. So yeah, so end templates, what would you have? You have house, or rather building. Then you would have, say, vehicles. And you would have, so another good template, environment. So that could be nature, stuff like that. Maybe I just call it nature. Are there any environments as non-nature? I mean, building pretty much covers it. So yeah, let's stick with nature because I think that might be a little bit more clear. And then yeah, and this would just repeats. It's just kind of, so if you go here, you'll pop up like maybe tree. What else? Trees, flowers, water, stuff like that. And we go here, you'll pop up cars, trucks, planes, something like that, or rather land-based vehicles, airplanes, stuff like that, flying vehicles, and water or locomotion vehicles, stuff like that. And buildings would be house, uh, hotel, or like tall building, or wide building, kind of warehouse type of thing. So yeah, that's basically how I would do it. Maybe even to make it even simpler, you would make this a dictation thing, so you can search. Yeah, that's what the circle could be actually. So you can tap on these templates to go to where you want to do, or you can search directly. So you won't even need that. You could just put it like a magnifying glass there. But I don't have the icons right now, so I'm just gonna write search. So this I think will be okay to make that an icon because search is a very universal icon. Um, but yeah, so if you tap there, boom, you can start searching stuff. And as you search, maybe, and I know I was gonna end it, but I'm on a roll right now. So maybe once you hit that and you start searching, I'm gonna move all this stuff up. Ooh, that's ugly. Should make that a capsule. I think y'all know where I'm going here. So I have a little search bar down here. Now I know search bars at the bottom is very awkward, so I guess I would have to probably move that to top. Um, but either way, the idea here is the same. So once you start searching, right, and you start typing in what you want, let's say I started typing in trees, or even a specific type of tree, say magnolia, and then the tools up here would adjust. So this would be like, okay, you're going to nature, you want to see. So it would basically show the diagram. It will show the tree as you search. So as you start typing in, that thing will kind of like start populating out. So if you say, when you type M, it'll bring up, probably won't bring up much yet, because there's an auto search thing. I'm getting this from Google has this autocomplete. but I really getting this from Algolia, a company I tried to apply for, but not as a designer, but as like a salesperson because I wanted to get in there early. But Algolia has a really, they're basically a search as a service software, and they offer like, they basically help websites or companies or whatever, create search engines for their website. So if you're on like um, Amazon or rather Twitch, that Twitch is one of their customers, you start searching a game or a person or whatever, and it starts auto populating, starts already looking for what you're looking for while you're typing it. So that's what I'm thinking about here. So you would start typing MA, start, populating it with all these different types of things that you can do, and it will be connected to. This will be like a diagrams of where it's coming from, what templates, what base level navigation. So it will kind of show you the navigation and the search results at the same time. I'm not sure if that would be too confusing, but in my head it would be really cool. um, so I like to fuse. I think that's my that's why I like the idea of TechnoWizard, like magic and technology. It can fuse aesthetics with function. So it'll be really cool to be able to like kind of have like a matrix type of futuristic type of feel when you're like searching for something and it's showing you how to get there at the same time as showing you, what it is that you're searching for. So if you're searching for magnolia, it'll show you like, templates, tree, and then or templates, nature, trees, and then the different types of trees, or maybe even deciduous, I forgot the other types of trees, but so the categories of trees and then that tree. So it'll be like just showing you all the different the navigation. So that way, as you use the platform, as you search, as you do things, you learn how it works. So maybe, you know, um, and the reason why we'd have two different ones and not just search or just the menu is because sometimes you know what you're looking for, so you could just go there. So maybe like, so sometimes you might know that you want a car, right? Um, so you go through here and you find a car. Sometimes you want a specific type of car or a specific type of thing, so you can just search that thing. Sometimes you just want to explore. You just want to see what the software has to offer. So you go through the menu system. And sometimes, search only really works if you kind of know what you're looking for. That's essentially what I was trying to say there. But if you don't know, you may like, maybe I need some type of structure here. So you go and look at templates and you see, the different type of structures that they have there. Maybe you think you need some type of flower. So you might search flower, or you might search, or you might just go to the templates. So, I like to allow people to do different things because people might, they want to, people do things different ways, and you want to respect that. And at the same time, it makes it more delightful when you don't push people down a certain path. Um, at least it does for me. So yeah, but yeah, I think that was a good start. It was fun doing that. Um, Definitely unlocked some more passion within me, so I can use for my finish up my classwork and whatnot. And we did we didn't even get to like the we didn't even do what I set out to do here, but it's whatever. It was fun, actually doing something here. So thanks again. I know this probably had been a long episode. I don't know how long. Probably, I hope it's not over an hour. If it is, and you're still watching, thanks for sticking through. Um, but yeah, it's been fun, and I'll see you next time tomorrow. Deuces.